Welcome back. Canberra is currently looking at new legislation that could affect smaller companies dealing with CFDs and foreign exchange trading. Matt Murphy from CFD and Margin FX Association and Chris Campbell, a former partner at Deloitte who handled the liquidation of MF Global, joins me and to analyse the pros and cons of the proposed change. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you very much.
So let me start with you first, because you're from the association. Why don't you just tell us what Canberra's doing, because you're not particularly happy about it, but tell me what they're trying to do.
Well, Canberra are looking at increasing protection for clients. Now, first of all, our association's in complete favour of increasing protection.
A noble
for
goal
clients.
we're talking about.
Absolutely,
Okay.
you cannot argue with that. Our issue is that this particular legislation that they're looking at will have the exact opposite effect, and also have a number of unintended consequences. So not only does it provide worse protection to clients, but it causes a conflict of interest between clients and the firm, and it also has major effects on competition.
Why would the government go for something that's crummy?
Well, on the surface, it potentially makes sense, saying we're going to keep money in trust and stop it being used for hedging, but it...
Right, so explain that. So you've got a company that does CFDs, for example, right? And so clients have got their money in, and so some organisations hedge and some don't.
That's exactly right.
Now, hedging sounds as though it should be a good thing, because it should protect on downside situations. Is that your thinking?
Absolutely.
So why did the POMs ban it?
Well, it was interesting because they're from a very different background to what we are in terms of they're from.
Have you noticed? Yes, but go on.
Arguably, they're from a spread betting background. So the UK firms it was initially regulated by the Gaming Authority over there, and they pay a percentage of client losses back to the government. So it's a very different to the Australian model, which is a traditional broking market, if you like. So as a result of that, the Australian companies have competed very heavily against the UK companies. So there's been some rivalry for some time as the Aussie companies have really competed. So it's very different environments. And the other thing that's really important is that despite it being put into the UK, there are a number of examples where it's really proven not to work.
Okay, and this is where Chris comes in. Now, Chris, you're a former partner at Deloitte, you're a liquidator, sometimes called an undertaker. You want to be nasty, But of course, you're very much necessary, like all undertakers are as well. But you handled the MF Global collapse. I guess it was the Australian-Asian part of it?
Just Australia.
Australian, okay. And but in the UK situation, the Brits got less compensation than the Australians. Is that right?
That's right. In Australia, we ended up getting 100 cents in the dollar back for all of the clients.
So they didn't lose their money?
They didn't lose their money. They lost a little bit on CFDs because of the costs. I had to pay out between $9 and $11 million worth of costs to work out how to deal with client claims and how to deal with client money. And that was because a lot of this information is not found in the legislation. So the legislation tries to give clients protection, but I still had to go to court to actually work out how to implement that protection. What the current position is they're going down a path of trying to protect clients, but they're not actually giving liquidators any help to get to an end answer.
So, looking at this legislation, what was your first reaction when you looked at it?
My first reaction is, how am I going to do this? My first reaction was, I'll ask the clients, and each client had a different view of how to do it. I'll ask the lawyers, and each lawyer had a different view on how to do it. I had no alternative but to go to the court and ask the court, because nobody had actually stepped through what actually happens in a liquidation and how to protect the clients. This could have been a disaster. If Justice Black had to come down with a different decision on all of this, it could have been a disaster for the CFD clients. They might have only received 70 or 80%. But Justice Black found that once the money that was the client money that had been used for hedging, once it was returned to me as liquidator, it wasn't company money, it was client money. And that was an important thing that's not being addressed in this legislation.
Okay, so go back to you then. It seems to me that you guys do the hedging and some of your other rivals, bigger ones in the market, don't do it. Is that right?
Well, to
if they come here, if they come here, say for example, if an English firm comes here, are they forced to play the same game as you?
Well, there's definitely
hedging?
two different business models. Our company, for example, hedges each and every order, so our interests are 100% aligned with that of our clients.
Right.
So therefore, we want our clients to make money. Some firms, and particularly those with UK origins, if you have a background of spread betting, for example, a part of their business model becomes around their clients losing. So our key issue with this legislation is surely we want an industry whereby we genuinely want our clients and we're financially incentivised for our clients to make money. The problem with this is that it creates a conflict. You can't hedge, therefore firms are incentivised to want their clients to lose, which creates an outcome completely against what we should be looking to achieve here.
Chris, what about the Yanks? What do they do? Have you looked into them?
Oh yeah, the Yanks are very different again.
Because the MF Global failed there as well.
But again, the Yanks use client monies to go and hedge. It was set up in a separate organisation. As the money came back, it was clearly client money. So over in the US, it was clearly client money.
Right.
And once Justice Black found that the monies that I would receive in my hands were client money, I was treated as a client in the US, and I got 100 cents in the dollar back for the clients here.
Okay, so who is the minister looking at this and pushing it?
This is Kelly O'Dwyer, who's recently put down, or released the draft legislation on that.
Yeah. What kind of response are you getting from the minister?
Well, at the moment we have been down to government to try and address these issues because we are concerned that there are a number of consequences that they may not have fully considered, and it's very important for the industry because it could create mayhem if you've got a situation where firms are effectively trading against their clients, it's anti-competitive, and then it simply doesn't work.
And I guess it's fair to say that if one firm has hedging, there's a cost associated with that protection.
Absolutely.
And the others who don't offer the hedging can be more cost effective because they're not offering that protection.
Exactly right. And that's
it's
exactly the point.
It's a very interesting challenge.
Yeah.
Was this legislation first moved under Labor, or was it always been from a coalition point of view?
No, I think it was first looked at, there was a consultation paper in November 2011, and from that there was, and I think it's fair to say it was largely driven by a special interest group, obviously, that had an interest in pursuing this legislation, but also back then we weren't aware of the consequences of the collapse of MF Global. And as a result of that, I think a lot of information came to light, and if we have a look at the old submissions from them, that there is a little bit more to it than simply saying ban use of client money for hedging and it will protect clients.
Yeah. Has the government, anyone from the government, talked to you, Chris? Because there haven't been many situations where a CFD provider has gone into trouble and there's been liquidation.
No, there hasn't been too many, and most of them involve some sort of fraud. Look, government is starting to talk, and we have had some meetings and looking to have a few more about the practicalities of it all. Yeah. But I think one of the important things here, Peter, is what I'm suggesting is that they need more protection. So not just trying to hold money in a trust account, but extend that trust situation to where the hedging actually goes. So that whole ecosystem actually then protects the client, not just individual pieces of it that changes a client risk profile.
Okay, Matt, when are they going to vote on this, or is it still being debated in Parliament?
Well, it's still being debated. The submissions close on the 25th of March. Okay. So we're obviously, I'm sure that a number of people in the industry are putting submissions in right now.
Have you got support from other sides of Parliament, the Greens or Labor?
Yes, we've spoken to a number of politicians down there and have certainly got some.
Okay, well, keep us in the loop. It'll be very interesting to see how it goes.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks for joining us on the show, guys.
Thank you.
So it's Matt Murphy and Chris Campbell on a very interesting topic, which I think a lot of our investors would be interested in.